There we are. Well, let's begin with the quotes for the day for the 5th of January. My God, it doesn't seem 2 minutes since it was the 1st of January. Now it's the 5th of January. This is usually time goes relatively slowly for me, but the first few days seem to have flown by. Anyway, this is a quote by Alphonse Carr, K-A-R-R, who says, "Some people are always grumbling because roses have thorns." He says, "I'm grateful that thorns have roses." Yep, there's always a different way to look at things. And Alphonse, my maternal grandfather was called Alphonsus, and that's the first time I've seen anything close to that name for a long time. So there you are, Alphonse Carr. And now let's see what our good friend Rev Margaret Stortz has got in store for us. Of course, the whole month it's going to be Emerson's Essays and the Science of Mind textbook. So, first one, Emerson's Essays, page 122. She says, or he says, "For it is a fire that so lights the whole world and all nature with its generous flames." And Ernest Holmes says, "The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything." And the whole title of the thing, which you probably saw there, was, "Oh, Love That Wilt Not Let Me Go." And more about that in a second, okay? And then Reverend Margaret says, "I'm following the last daily guide with a bit more on love. We can legislate thoughts on love to some degree, but often senses of love come to us unbidden and not always rationally. Probably because love is such an intrinsic part of our being." She says, and this is where the title of the whole thing comes in, "In fact, recently the lilting strains of an old hymn from my childhood floated into the top of my mind, and I once more was carried along by its special meanings for me." Then she quotes it, "Oh, love that wilt not let me go, I rest my weary soul in thee." I never heard that hymn. And she says, "Well, I use many spiritual practices that are more satisfying to me than those of my younger days. The closeness and the uplift of the old songs still hold precious meanings. Whenever and however the touches of the infinite come, surely it is love that moves us into deeper meanings that lie within us, which is why it's not always words that take us down remembered paths, but perhaps sights and melodies. Whatever it may be, I recommend that we rest in infinite love wherever and whenever it might find us. These days, that love heals and the love that heals and holds cannot come often enough." And she says, "As one of the gifts of the Spirit," yawning is good for you, by the way, "it is ours for the receiving. And can there ever be too much love in mind and in heart for us to share?" Well, I don't know. The hymn she quotes, I never heard of it. Those words are completely unfamiliar to me, but then again, I grew up Catholic in England, and so that's kind of my background in religion. And I was actually Catholic in England in an Irish community, if that's not too confusing. So that's the way I was, shall we say, taught, in air quotes, by nuns and priests. And you can interpret what you want from the word taught, things were literally beaten into us. But even that, I'm sure that a lot of them did it out of love. Not all of them, I know. I think some of them were just frustrated women or men, but a lot of them did it out of love, and you could tell, you know. And they were obliged to use corporal punishment, I guess, by their superiors. But the love was there; it was not lacking. And honestly, I don't hold any major issues and trauma from my upbringing, albeit it was kind of brutal at times, with the nuns and the priests. But even so, I don't, because I think I was able to filter out a lot of the stuff I didn't want to accept and just allow myself to accept that stuff that I did want. Did I enjoy the punishments? No. Did I deserve them? Probably, to the extent they dish them out, probably not. But I do agree that the basis of everything is love. And if the human race were actually to start turning towards love, or let me rephrase that. When the human race starts turning towards love, the world will be a different place. And when we can discern without judging, the world will be a different place. If I see somebody run a red light, which I did today after, I don't know, 3 to 5 seconds on red, and the traffic was already setting off in the other direction, pretty close call, I don't have to judge that person. I don't know what their motivations were. As Reverend Jesse says, you don't know whether that person was miles away because they were celebrating, they were miles away because they were in grief, they were just late for an appointment and they really had to get there. You don't know. So you can observe the fact, or I can observe the fact, that somebody runs a red light, and I don't have to judge them for it. I can just let it go. So that's something I am working on. It's something I'm working on. So let's just take a minute and just think about, what is something in life that you love? I mean, if you're married or you're in a relationship, hopefully your partner, and your pets. What about your pets? I mean, we do love our pets, don't we? Right now, we lost our dog about a year ago, and we just have 3 cats, and I guess we'll get a dog in the not too distant future. And we do love our pets. And I was in a mediation today, and one of the people involved, one of the 2 parties, I heard this noise. We're on Zoom, right? Usually I mediate in person. We're on Zoom. And I heard this noise in the background, and I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Oh, we just got this little dog for Christmas." And she lifted the little dog up, and it was cute. And even her kind of ex-partner, they were being nice to each other, by the way, said, "Yeah, it's a really cute dog." So, they have 1 kid together, and I guess the relationship was pretty good to say that they'd separated. So anyway, but the whole point was that everybody's faces lit up when that little dog came on. I could see everybody, of course, including, the other parties in the mediation and one of my persons assisting me. So yeah, it was kind of cute. So I do believe that when the human race starts turning more towards love, the world will be a different place, because it cannot change. And as we said before, love is the basis for everything. I'm not going to repeat the quote she's giving every day, because it's there. The extra she gives us today is, and I rest in the love that never lets me go, and I know this to be a healing balm to me. Healing balm for me, right? I rest in the daily love that never lets me go, and I know this to be a healing balm to me. And that is your stuff for today, my friends. So I hope you enjoyed it. And tomorrow will be Reverend Lisa. She will be on at 9:15 a.m. Creative Life Center's Facebook page. I'll be back tomorrow. That's a really good question. I honestly don't know, because we have a completely full afternoon. It's probably going to be late tomorrow. I'm guessing it's going to be 7:30-ish. when I get on tomorrow. My apologies for being tardy. My apologies in advance. And just a quick reminder, the class coming up starting next Tuesday is basics of New Thought, Science of Mind. Change your thinking, change your life. So who would not want to change their thinking and change their life? So text me 832-271-0717 and I will supply you with more details. So until next time, please take care. I'm knowing the highest and best for everyone. Namaste.